Hey everyone, so in this one I want to just share some of my thoughts about AI and how to effectively use it within your organization, or if you are a startup, how to use it in your startup, or if you are just a one-person team, how you can become 10 developers. So let's go straight to the board and let's really sort of unpack what's going on here. So I want you to think about what we do in the past if we have big coding projects. So what happens is we usually get a request from like a client, right? So the client will come. No, let's not do that. Let's just draw him as a stick figure. Yep. And he will have some contract and be like, I want to build this platform. And what he will do is either give it to some consulting firm, right? Or maybe the client is actually the salesperson in or the organization itself. And then he will sort of pass that on to the dev team. And now maybe there could be like, this is a dev, this is a dev, this is a dev. You have 3 devs, and maybe this dev is concerned with the front end, this dev is concerned with the back end, this dev is maybe like DevOps or something like that, right? Now, obviously, if you add more devs, you can get work done quicker. You can get work done. So maybe there's 2 front-end people and they sort of split that up using Jira. Maybe there's like 3 back-end people. The 3 back-end people would take care of different services, and maybe the DevOps, one person could do the testing or something like that, and then the other person could do all the Amazon stuff. Make sure your Kubernetes is working, your Docker Compose is working all fine. So that's sort of what happens. Now, if you're a small company, and that's what you'd kind of do. But if you were kind of large, right? If you were kind of larger, medium, and you had a little bit more this good stuff here, a little bit of dough, what you would do, so in the past, maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that, you'd actually you would outsource some of this work. So let's just say you'd outsource it to China, or you'd outsource it to India, or the Philippines or something like that, right? And what would usually happen is you'd still have your core dev team, right? Something like that. And what goes on here is that you can actually hire these devs for much cheaper than the rate you would pay an employee sort of either in America or Australia or England or something like that, right? And so you get like that many devs for maybe for that salary, or maybe and so what you would do is you'd find a way to take this contract here, and essentially you'd want to split off the contract into sort of manageable tasks like this, and they're somewhat independent and they can be done on their own, and you'd sort of hand that off to these guys. You'd write a bunch of, so inside each of these are tests, right? And you'd want to make sure when they give the work back, it passed all the tests, essentially. And then once it passed all the tests, it's given back to either the management team or dev here or something like that. And then these guys' jobs are sort of, you've got these like 4 pieces from up here. And these guys' jobs is sort of to like glue all the pieces together. So that's how that worked, right? And obviously, the more cash you have, if you have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money, you can obviously hire more devs here, and then obviously you can hire an insane amount of devs here, and then maybe these amount of devs report to this guy over here, and then essentially you just increase your productivity. That's that, right? That's that. Now, what I'm going to do now is sort of suggest an alternative, especially with AI. So essentially, if you're a one-person startup, it's just you. It's just you. But you also have AI. Now, AI is amazing. There's Claude, there's ChatGPT, there's Copilot, and oh my gosh, the models are so good. Now, you want to think of AI as sort of like a junior developer, right? A junior developer. Sometimes you sort of need to push it in the direction, but what you can do, right, is you have the contract, right? And how you do this is you sort of split it up. You split the contract up, right, into pieces. Bang, 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 bang. And then you do the same pattern and you hand the contract pieces to AI. Right? One by one, one by one. Yep. And then what happens is you hand these contract pieces back to the AI. The AI does the work and it sort of comes back to you. Yeah. And so essentially the whole thing is like you can sort of get it to the stage where you sort of replace the outsourcing and this money is just put into buying the monthly subscription for AI, which is probably usually that much money as opposed to this much money. Now, that is an awesome workflow. And what ends up happening is you sort of give these jobs and then they come back sort of sequentially, right? They come back sequentially like that. Now the thing is, it is sort of, you submit a job, it does it sequentially. You submit a job, it does it, it does it in order, as opposed to here, right? You can sort of split these off here, and then what you end up doing is you give the contract to maybe different teams within the outsourcing country. And so they would sort of do this in parallel, right? They would do this work in parallel. So it's truly parallel. But imagine, so this is a whole queuing theory thing, right? So imagine if you have a queue, right? You have a really, really fast queue. So this is the fast queue. And then you've got slow. You've got slow queues, right? Now the slow queues in this analogy is going to be the outsourcing, and then the fast queue is going to be the AI. Now imagine if AI can produce code, I don't know, at so you have regular dev speed, which is, we'll just say 1x, right? Now imagine AI can produce this, and this is honestly usually the case. AI can write code 100x times faster. So imagine me typing everything out, right? AI just, I would even say it could be 1000x, but let's be conservative and just say 100x, because honestly, it just goes, writes a full page full of code, and it would have taken me a while to write that out. So I would even argue it could be 1000x, but let's be conservative. Now what if we had sort of slow? So this could be 5x, right? This could be 5x, or even no, let's actually be nice. Let's be 10x, right? 10x. But with the slow outsourcing, you actually have more teams, right? So you sort of have 10x. And you have another, so it's actually going to be a plus, it's not going to be a multiply. You have another team, that's another 10x, and then it's going to be plus, 10x. Yep, and you got 10x. So imagine that, and you got I don't know, and then you could say 10, and then that's how you'd build up to 100x. Now, if you want to think about it, right, if you think about it, would you rather have these 10x blocks, right? 10x slow blocks, or one really fast queue that goes at 100x. Now, if you study queuing theory, it actually turns out that this is the more efficient option. This is the more efficient option. Where's my stochastic models? My old good math books, right? So seriously, there's a whole topic called queuing theory. This is an awesome book, and it actually turns out you want the faster queue. That's very mathematical math theory and stuff like that, and it's a bit unintuitive. But okay, let's say if you didn't know queuing theory and then you got this to equal 100x, right? Now the argument for not choosing this one as well is that every time you add one of these teams on, these 10x teams, it costs you a bit of money. Costs you money. Costs you money. Cost you money. And then eventually, so it's 10x plus all the monies you accumulate. Dot, dot, dot. Monies. This, if you find a good AI, it's only going to cost you that much money at a fixed rate, right? At a fixed rate. So that's honestly why I would choose this AI here. And I think companies should be doing that. It's a kind of like a little secret. So if you're a one-man team, and you want to build big like projects, like I don't know, banking projects or stuff like that, if you're a good manager and you sort of know how to split up tasks properly, and you sort of have all the experience of like testing and DevOps and risk checking and all that, you can just sort of break up the menial tasks, right? The junior dev tasks, and just put them in here. It'll come back, and you being a good tech lead or something like that, you just accept or reject those updates, right? So that is a possible proposal about how to go about that. Now, these are just my thoughts, and I think this is how AI is going, and it is actually the only way if you're a 1 or 5 man team and you want to compete with a organization that is like 100 devs, right? 100 devs. This is, I think, your only chance you have to actually have skin in the game, have like, a way to compete. Now, the reason companies don't do this is because, I guess, obviously they're security is a big thing. So if you're a bank and you're actually sending client data to organization like the AI organization, that's just illegal. You just can't do that. And they're slow moving and stuff like that. So what happens at like sort of bigger companies, right? They actually have the resources, so they want to sort of use AI, right? They want to use AI, but they have sort of their own AI running, or an open source model, and they have their own server sort of running all the time. So each of the employees submit queries to this server, and then they get stuff back. As opposed to you use ChatGPT, it's submitted to like a cloud, right? It's submitted to a cloud, and you obviously don't want to be sharing client details to the cloud, right? That is bad. But maybe the ones from like, Anthropic or Microsoft or Azure or whatever, or like you like all these really good models by these tech firms, they could arguably give better responses than the internal AI here. So that's sort of the trade-off, and sort of companies aren't catching up. Now, I think there's this sort of arbitrage gap that if you are a startup or an individual, you should be just getting this AI and just milking these projects, right? And just going like a maniac and doing it quickly. So those are sort of my thoughts on AI and stuff like that. So actually what I have in the works at the moment is I want to release a course telling small teams or individuals about how to effectively choose this, right? And work efficiently, effectively on it. Okay, cool. So that is the end of that rant. I think I'm going to stop here, and I hope you enjoyed my little talk.